Politicians say things like, we want to build communities.
Yeah.
These are the guys actually building communities. And now are literally building a village to tie all that together. What does SDG do now? What is your primary focus?
We build in Barrie, and we found great pieces of property close to downtown, residential properties that could be turned into commercial properties. So essentially a single family home turned into a 10 to 12 unit apartment building. So there's a massive lift on the value of the property, just in the land acquisition side of things. But also as a project, you're taking a $800,000 piece of property and turning that into a $6.5 million project.
At first it's, hey, great, we have 10 units we're adding to the market. Fantastic. Then it became 20, 30, 40, 50, we're up to 100 now with 9 projects. And we thought to ourselves, hey, they're all within walking distance of 5 minutes within each other. Why don't we create a village?
Now we found ourselves in a position where we're actually one of the largest builders in Barrie. You know, we might actually become one of the largest in Ontario, probably not the country.
Welcome to The Hard Truth. I'm here with Kartik and Jimmy of the SDG group. We are going to go over a ton of stuff today. We're going to talk about working your day job, getting started in real estate, partnerships, pros, cons, challenges of building a partnership. We're going to talk about going from a single house to the biggest developer in Canada overnight. And more importantly, we're going to talk about the missing middle, how you guys are solving for it, and a really great event that you guys have going on the missing middle. So stay tuned, and we're going to dive into it. All right, guys. So I want to get a little bit into your backstory, who you guys are, how you guys met, how SDG came to be, how you came into real estate, how you became partners, how you became friends. So kind of like take me back. Like how'd you guys meet? How'd you get into real estate? Tell me a little bit about your story.
I could go first. So my previous career was as a general manager at Good Life Fitness for a dozen years. Right out of school, I got my first job at selling memberships at Good Life Fitness, so it allowed me to hone in on my skills in terms of sales, and then I got promoted as a general manager and managed a bunch of clubs downtown Toronto, and that allowed me to skill up in terms of working with a lot of diverse skill set of people, right? So that's what I did, and over that time I used my money and I bought pre-construction condos and single family homes, and I do short-term and long-term rentals, and over time I gained the confidence to leave that career and get into real estate full-time. During that time, I met my business partner, Kartik. So we were actually next door neighbors at one of the places we stayed at in Etobicoke. So he'll tell you about his previous career, and we can get things going.
Yeah. So, well, as Jimmy said, we were next door neighbors, and so how I got into real estate was actually got right into development. I bought a couple of condos as investments, and then I bought some land in Muskoka. And then, got into developing that piece of property and actually built one of the largest shipping container homes in the country. So I have a over 3,000 square foot house right on the water on a beautiful lake that I built out of shipping containers. So that kind of got my feet wet into real estate. But prior to that, I was running an HVAC company, commercial HVAC company. At our peak, we had 25 employees. So I was very comfortable with real estate, contract law, construction law, managing large teams and, kind of managing profit and loss in a company, multiple 8-figure, is what our revenues were every year. So it was a pretty large operation. So, when I started doing development, I really, grew it as a passion, became one of my passions. And then, this whole housing crisis just, is a big talk around 2022, 2023. And that's something I knew that I wanted to get into. Jimmy and I were neighbors. We used to work out together, and I was like, "Hey, man, would you be interested in kind of collaborating on a deal?" And the rest is history.
Cool. So let me go back though, because we're going to get into the projects you guys are doing now, which are super cool, right on trend with, not even on trend, on fix to the problem, the missing middle. We're going to talk more about the conference and what that means later on in this. But I want to relate to maybe the viewers here who are still working their day jobs. You guys are in real estate. You guys are a real estate business now. Talk a little bit about when you were, working working your job and buying your first deals, before you got educated, before you created a business. Talk a little bit about that background. You were buying pre-construction, doing short-term, you bought a house, you like, talk a little bit about working a job and doing real estate.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I bought my first property in year number 2 of my career, right? And I was like, okay, making some money, real money at that time. I didn't know what to do with my money, so I surrounded myself with people who had real estate. I wanted to invest my money, so okay, well, I got introduced to my real estate agent saying, hey, why don't you buy some pre-construction condos? At that time, it was 2011, right? Just before the...
Not 2025 pre-construction condos, 2011.
Exactly, had to point that out. So we got in, and I called my sister and said, hey, how much money you got? You want to go in on this deal with me? And she said, yes. What the hell? Let's do it. So
your first JV deal
was with my sister. Yeah, it was a condo in Liberty Village downtown, and that did well. And I stayed there for a bit, and then I started buying another pre-construction condo and a few other homes in Niagara Falls as pre-construction as well. So those were moments where I got comfortable after the first deal, but I was nervous within the first deal because I didn't know what to expect. So reaching out to an expert like my real estate agent and brokers to really guide me through the process, open up my eyes in terms of what real estate can do in terms of passive income and just even short-term rentals as well. So that got me started, but those were the people I turned to for advice.
And this wasn't, I'm quitting my job and buying real estate. This was, I have a great job, I've got some extra money, I'm gonna do some real estate. And for those of you who are getting a part of our community, we talk a lot about that in there, which is don't go quit your job day one. Build some stability, use your income to get mortgages, do smart deals, build it up over time. So I love that. And Kartik, is it kind of similar or?
Yeah, so for me, I took the development route. So I was, I bought my first condo in 2017, and so the condo appreciation wasn't as much as the condos were appreciating in 2011. So I didn't necessarily get the same kind of ride that Jimmy did. So I didn't see like the fruits of real estate, of the earlier era, but then I got into development. So, one of the things that, just around that time, 2016, 2017, Airbnb was coming out, and I was like, hey, wouldn't it be nice to kind of own something in Muskoka? So I actually bought my first piece of land in 2019 in Muskoka on the water for like 150,000, 4 acres, right? You could get properties in Muskoka for that much, and then I was like, okay, I'll figure something out. I'm getting such a good deal that I'll figure something out. Didn't really realize all the different challenges that are associated with development, as you know. But when you're buying raw land, you gotta, especially when you're in that area, you gotta figure out how you're gonna get the water in there, how you're gonna get sewer, So I had to kind of think about the septic tank. You have to, kind of remove all the trees and kind of figure out a buildable area. But that was a great learning experience for me. All in all, now the property is worth $2 million, right? And so I more than tripled sort of my investment, right, that I put into the property. So it was a great investment. But I 100% agree with you. For the people that are listening, real estate has got to be a part-time thing so that you can kind of understand if you actually do enjoy it or don't enjoy it, because there's so many ups and downs that come with real estate. I'm sure you faced that with your tenants and stuff that you were renting out. For me, it was about, the challenges that I faced in development, right? All sorts of stuff with the city and bylaws, and, there's things that happen that you don't control. Because I had a job at the time, I was able to navigate a lot of those issues, rather than if I didn't have a job at the time and then let's say I got stuck at something, then I'd be without a job and without any progress,
right?
For multiple months, right? So 100% agree with you on that.
The rules are changing.
Yeah.
Right. The rules. Some of the gurus out there, they're still teaching the same thing for 10 years, and the rules are changing. How we do this change. I also like what you said. Go part-time, take some steps, see if you like it. the hard truth. This isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not. It's hard. It's stressful. There's work involved. The only thing I could say is for anybody, if you want to invest and partner with a fund, put some money in a fund, anybody can do that. But if you want to be operators like you guys, the same thing. We're gonna dive into what you guys are doing now. It's not for everybody. There takes some hard work, some courage. My lawyer says balls to do it. So okay, so we got a little bit of your background. You guys. Kind of throwing a dart at real estate. You're trying different things, different challenges. Like you said, you didn't know what you were doing. You were doing different things. So how did that evolve? How did you guys connect? And what is a little, let's take the next step in your journey. Where are you guys at today?
So one key pivotal moment for us was finding the right partner. At that time, we were searching for a deal, for a partner. But the monumental part of that was finding the right partner at the right moment, at the right time, with the right timing, with the industry, with what's going on. Kartik said, hey, why don't you come into development? And I took a 3-day course, a weekend boot camp course with Darren Voros's Infill Groundbreaker course. And we learned I learned the basics and the fundamentals of development, right? And on the 3rd day, what I loved about his course was there was a 5-site tour. So you can see, touch, and feel all the sites. It's like, okay, this guy's real. This guy is doing what the market needs right now. And he's probably seeing, 3, 4, 5 years ahead of what everybody else is doing instead of doing what everybody else has done. Right? So we jumped on that wave. And another story finding the right partner is first day I sat there, Dave, which is our 3rd partner, he was sitting right next to me.
I got to get a bigger couch for the 3 of you guys next time.
Exactly. So we found out what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, and we focused on each other's strengths, and we hired for our weaknesses, right? So that was a pivotal moment that I want to highlight, was not only finding the right deal, but finding the right partner before you find the right deal.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because I've been in some incredible partnerships. I've been in some partnerships that are challenging. One of my favorite things about your partnership story is you guys aren't related. You guys found each other through proximity. You happen to live next to each other, and then through a workshop. And I've heard some horror stories about partnerships that met through workshops. But you guys, I've chatted with you 3. You really do complement each other well. So how did that get born? How does it work? What are the pros? What are the cons of partnership? I can interview you guys separately if we want to talk about the cons. I keep teasing the missing middle stuff we're going to get to. But I want to let's talk partnership for a while. Let's talk about that.
So one of the I knew what my strengths were, right? So I come from an engineering background. So as Jimmy was mentioning, I saw the green dollar signs, and also it's a cause that I attach myself to, the missing middle and all that stuff. When Darren Voros was talking about his development course, and you'd spoken at one of his courses as well, and I'd seen you present, and I was just like, okay, it kind of feels like a little bit too good to be true. But like Jimmy was saying, if you time things the right way, if you're timing the market the right way, if you're right at the right place at the right time, things, do feel like, sometimes too good to be true. I know there's challenges with CMHC, MLI Select, but I think we're at the right place at the right time. So I had an engineering background. I'm not very good with operational stuff. I don't really have good attention to detail. And then as soon as I met Jimmy, and Jimmy has a very good operational background. He's managed over 700-800 people in his previous role at Good Life. So I knew that this is something he could do. And us working out together, him keeping us on track of where we needed to be and stuff like that. I just that's a skill set that I don't really have. So that's when I went to Jimmy and I said, hey, I think it's time both of us quit our jobs and kind of get into kind of do this full time. So both of us did that.
Yeah. To talk about Dave as well, how we met, it was the right timing too, because we were looking for our second deal at that time, right? And for our first deal, Kartik and I, yes, we put our money together, and as you know, as you grow, you need more capital to invest into new deals. And Dave happened to be that partner that was his strength, that was his skill set. He has a podcast within the first responders world, and he was able to be a figure that can raise capital and provide returns for his listeners. So we realized that was a gap in our partnership, and we brought in somebody who can fill in that gap.
Great. Okay. So, love that. So I will say for the listeners, so I've done some private lending and financing work with SDG, and Jimmy runs a tight ship, an operational guy. He's got his shit together, and this is why these guys are growing and acquiring. Is somebody, when I lend capital, your paperwork is a reflection of you, and working with a guy like Jimmy, who's organized, prompt, detailed. This is why you guys are growing. My investors want to fund your deals. They see your stuff. When I ask for something, it's like this. We got other people who are fighting us to give us documents. So talking about partnership strengths and weaknesses, for those out there who maybe are more the Kartiks of the world, you need your Jimmys. You need somebody who's going to help keep things going. You got a great vision, you got different skills. We need a guy like Jimmy who's going to keep the ship pointed in the right direction. I'll tell you, before the call, we said we were going to go over a little bit of time. Jimmy's like, 1 second, I got to send some notes to the team to give I respect that. I know when we lend capital to SDG, you guys are responsible, organized stewards of capital. Cool. Let's talk missing middle. Let's talk about where you are. You guys talked about your pre-businesses. What does SDG do now? What is your primary focus?
So SDG has found itself in a very interesting position, actually, because as you know, that the housing starts are down by 70%, right? Only 30% of the builders are building right now. And, we found ourselves a good formula, right? We build in Barrie, and, we found great pieces of property close to downtown, that we're acquiring as residential properties that could be turned into commercial properties. So essentially a single family home turned into a 10 to 12 unit apartment building. So there's a massive lift on the value of the property, just in the land acquisition side of things. But also as a project, you're taking a $800,000 piece of property and turning that into a $6.5 million project. So never in a million years kind of dreamed that we would be in this type of a position, but we found a formula. Obviously we worked hard towards it and then kept replicating that formula over and over again. And now we found ourselves in a position where we're actually one of the largest builders in Barrie. And then we were just kind of talking about some of the other larger deals that are kind of being presented to us that we were talking before the podcast. We might actually become one of the largest in Ontario, probably not the country. And it's because once you're the 30% and you become big in that 30%, you become the largest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an incredible journey.
Let's slow this down, because you just kind of skipped through that.
Yeah.
So okay, the main strategy that you're doing, you're buying, and you basically own one street in Barrie now. You basically bought the whole thing. So you're buying oversized lots with single family homes. Okay, so we hear the government talking all the time, we need more housing, we need more housing. I think most of our listeners, depending on your experience, you know that high rises take years. Everyone's heard my short form content about how I feel about the bureaucracy of the delays. So you guys, but what's happened is in Barrie, and in Ontario, they've said it that up to 10 units, there's no site plan approval.
Correct.
Right? So you're buying oversized lots that don't require a site plan approval, that you can build purpose-built 10plexes.
Correct.
No site plan approvals.
Correct.
So and we're going to talk, we won't get into the intimate details of some of the deals, but there are deals where you've bought with extended closings, and by the time you come to me for the financing on those deals, the approval is already in place. You haven't even closed on the deal. You haven't even paid any carrying costs, and you guys already have approvals. That's a home run strategy for people who are scared to get into real estate. And this is why you guys are accelerating so quickly, because you're being smart and strategic. So you're buying oversized lots, you're building 10plexes. Now, if we're building 10plexes, do we need to worry about the tenant loss?
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But we don't need to, we're building brand new, so we need to worry about the tenant laws when we're done, but we don't have existing tenants at low rents.
Correct.
We have new construction with no rent control.
Correct.
Brand new units that you're bringing to market. Okay. So
that means we can increase the rents, right? Anything built after 2018, we can increase the rent. So we do have that at our disposal. Obviously, we want to do the right thing by the tenants and all that.
of course, yes, of course, yeah.
But yeah, that is a luxury that we have that other people that are retrofitting, apartments don't.
Got it. So so I guess talk about that process. I kind of went high level here. I wanted to slow you down. You went from I bought a single family home to we're going to be the biggest developer in Canada. So I'm just trying to bridge that gap a little bit here.
That's his job.
Jimmy, let's get us under control here.
Let me break it down for you, Kyle.
Classic.
Okay, yeah, exact, classic. Okay, so for example, our first one, right? First one, we went to see 3 homes on a Friday afternoon. It was actually my sister's birthday, October the 13th. And then the final house was a house that we really liked. And that had come onto the market the day of, because the day before the deal fell through, right? So we saw it, we walked it, it's like, wow, this lot is amazing, right? This lot is amazing. And that was about 2 p.m. that day. And then we're like, hey, how many units do you think, we looked at each other, how many units do you think we could put on this lot? Maybe 6, maybe 8. And then we're like, hey, downtown is just 5-minute walk away. Why don't we walk to City Hall? And we walked in, and there's a planning wicket, which was very friendly. And we walked in, and we met a superstar planner, and we asked him questions, and we say, hey, we're interested in buying a lot. What can we put on it? He's like, fantastic. I love it. We love developers. Tell me what you want on this lot. We're like, 6, 8? He's like, you could do more. How many do you want? How many units do you want? We said 10. He's like, yes, you can fit 10 here. So that confidence and that support actually from the city gave us the confidence to go back and really put in that offer an hour later. And we got our first deal.
Yeah.
And that is a testament to the city and the municipality in terms of the planning department on how pro-development they are. And that allowed us to accelerate what we want in terms of our process and how we buy in our buy box.
Because there's two main huge takeaways there. We just went down and asked.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people I talk to that have been stewing on their thoughts for 2 weeks about what they can and can't do? You guys went there and you're like, hey, let's drive down and ask. Is that going to work every time? Maybe not, but that's amazing. The second thing that is the home run part of your strategy is you are working with the city. The city wants 10-unit infills. The Ontario government set the policy, and the city is working with it, so you're not running into those roadblocks along the way. So you have the conversation, you make the offer. How are we accelerating through this process? What do you need to go from a residential single to a 10-unit? You're doing this in like 3 months?
Yep.
On average to get the approvals?
Yep.
Building permits are a little bit longer, but the actual approval, what does that 3 months look like?
So I'll give you an example of our second, third, and fourth deals, right? So as we're gaining experience along the way, our process and timelines are getting tighter, which are shorter, which is better, right? So for example, we'll negotiate with the landowner, or we'll negotiate with one of our neighbors, right? We'll take them out for lunch, tell them what's going on, and an hour later after lunch, they're telling us, how would it look if we sold to you? Perfect. Let's talk about that, right? So we pre-frame it that way so that they want to sell to us, and we want their property. Right?
Yep.
So then we negotiate a longer close, a deposit of some sort, and during that time, in our APS, in our clause, we can say, hey, we are allowed to apply for approvals while you're still living there. You just need to sign off on it. They agree to it because those are the terms in our sale, right? And then if we're negotiating a 6, 8, 12-month closing period, they're still living there, so we don't carry the cost. And we start the planning process to get the best use of that land with our planner. They go apply for a committee of adjustments or pre-consultation, whatever the city requires for us to get in front of the committee of adjustments so that they can approve our minor variances, which are very minor. We're not changing, we're not asking for something that's extraordinary. So they'll likely approve it because they do have to vote, but they have to hear what our project is about. And we have to go through the process of explaining it to our neighbors and getting them on board as well. But ultimately, this committee of adjustment would approve it, and that's in month number 3-ish. By that time, we get our approvals. Guess what? Our single family home just turned into a 10-unit commercial project, which lifts the project from typically, $800,000 to like a 1.2, 1.3 project now. So we instantly, within 3 months, without paying carrying costs, lifted the land by $500,000. Right off the bat, we're finding the right properties, talking to the right people, and getting our lifts right off the bat.
What I love about that too, because I know some of the viewers are going to say, well, what homeowner would agree to this? Why would they agree to sell it? Well, I'll give you some of the answers right now. First of all, they get to stay put. They have a sale locked up. They get to take their time and find a new one. The other thing is, if you don't firm up on their deal, you've added value to their property because you've taken it through the zoning. They're not required to actually execute that, but you've actually increased the value. So there's like zero downside for that homeowner to go through this process and give you guys that upside. I love that. I love that. The other thing you said it before, and I'm going to circle back on it. I talk in the community that we have. We're talking more and more about this, about focus. And I'm terribly guilty for this. I did every strategy in the world. You used a word that I loved, our buy box. Talk to me about your buy box. What is the buy box?
So, in engineering, you want to keep repeating the same process over and over again. That's when you develop efficiency, right? So once we'd figured out that, hey, we could do this with our first property, and then like Jimmy said, we talked to our neighbors and they were interested in selling, we're just like rinse and repeat. Let's just kind of keep doing, because the housing crisis is massive, right? And when we bring in 10, 20, 30 units in a city like Barrie, it hardly makes a dent of the actual number of housing that they need. Yes, now we're starting to take into consideration, other things such as, our absorption rates and all that stuff as to how quickly the units will actually rent to market. But at that time, bringing 10, 20 units to market, we knew that there's a demand for rental that somebody's going to, absorb. So essentially, bought the first property, bought our neighbors, and rinse and repeat, keep doing the same thing until such time that, we exhaust kind of our entire absorption. So now we're starting to run into kind of the other side of the issues, which is now we're, starting to look into studies where we think we're building too much. We're not, but that's where we're doing our absorption studies and stuff like that. But, kind of buying the same pieces of property, doing the same things on every single property allows us to just take so much advantage of economies of scale, right? Like we can put so for example, if you did, let's say 5 different projects in 5 different cities, you would need a site supervisor that would cost you $150,000 in each different city. Now we've got one site supervisor that costs us $150,000 that we can put into,
does
them all, right? And he's incentivized and all that stuff, appropriately. So that's just kind of one example as that you can significantly reduce your costs. Same with our trades as well. They can move from one project to the next project. Let's say sometimes what can happen is when you're going through drawings, right? You got your 90% complete drawings, and then the city comes back with their comments, and you got to incorporate some changes. Well, now the costs sometimes go up, but now we can actually negotiate with the contractors that, hey, help me out here because, as you know, with CMHC, you've got fixed costs with your loan amount. Hey, help me out here. And there's other projects that we could potentially work a deal out on, right? So, that's kind of what the buy box allows you to do, is essentially take advantage of economies of scale. And it is a massive advantage.
I'll tell you, we mix up your files all the time because they all look the same. they look up my admin's like I can't. Like she knows that they're all different, but we have to double check because they all look so similar. It's literally rinse and repeat over and over again, and that's a good thing. And I love what you said there too. You know, the city on the first one you do 90%, and then they come back on their comments. Well, guess what? Next time, you're probably at 95% or even 98% because you knew what their comments are last time. You're already doing them. I can tell, like, human nature too is when things are challenging, they get put off, right? So the city, this is SDG, we've seen this before, we know exactly what we're doing, and they can push it through quicker because they know exactly what to expect here. So let's talk about the conference coming up here, okay?
Actually,
go ahead.
I just want to talk about one of the things that unintentional consequence, which has actually been great of that strategy, is Clapperton Village, right? So maybe, Jimmy, you want to talk about Clapperton Village and what it allowed us to do, kind of having...
Yeah, that's great because it's going to tie into the conference and what we're going to talk about there as well. So at first it's, hey, great, we have 10 units we're adding to the market. Fantastic, 10 new homeowners, 10 new people will have new homes, right? Fantastic. Then it became 20, 30, 40, 50, we're up to 100 now with 9 projects. And we thought to ourselves, hey, there's 5 on the same street, 3 on another street, and 1 just a block away. They're all within walking distance of 5 minutes within each other. Why don't we create a village? A village, when Kartik first brought that up, I said, village, what does that even mean, right? Well, this is what it means. This is our vision where everybody can share the amenities, like a dog park, a co-working space, a cafe, a kids lounge, a barbecue, a hot tub, a steam room, a gym, a sauna, all within walking distance of one another. Not only the amenities, but also the safety, right? We can have with our property management, we can have security patrol all the areas in one route. Right, so that's what it has become, Clapperton Village. And Clapperton, just for the listeners, it's the street where our projects, majority of our projects are. So it's Clapperton Village now, and why not do it that way? Because that will provide so much more value to our tenants because they can use all the shared amenities.
This is, I'll keep it light on the political side, but the politicians say things like, we want to build communities.
Yeah.
These are the guys actually building communities. The private sector, guys who are out there working, taking their, actually, you guys started building apartments and now are literally building a village to tie all that together. So unbelievable. And I think this is the perfect segue into you guys are running the Missing Middle Conference, September 12th, Royal Fairmont, Toronto, and dive into this, guys. Typically we don't do like sales pitches on here, but I really believe in this conference. I think it's great. I mean, we can share the links so you guys can buy tickets if you want. I'm not an affiliate, in case anyone's wondering. I just want this to be a success because it really is a great mission. You got a great lineup, so you guys dive in.
Yeah. So the idea of the conference actually emerged from Clapperton Village, right? As you saw, as we talked about, it's a great project, and especially when you factor and layer in the affordable units, right? So 10% of the units being affordable, it's really a great opportunity for the people that have those affordable units to live amongst market rents, right? I think it's a really life-changing thing for them. We wanted to market Clapperton Village as and marketing is sort of on top of everybody's mind. And so, that's where we're like, okay, well, we should kind of get the right people together in a room together to talk about some of the challenges and stuff like that, so we can kind of work on solutions together. So that's where the idea of the Missing Middle Conference came about. So the 2 challenges that the Missing Middle Conference solves for is we want to get all levels of government in the same room with developers and CMHC, right? In the government, as you know, policies come out from the federal government that don't get translated to the provincial government, don't get translated to the municipal government, right? So the idea was, let's get all three of them in the same room, along with senior heads at CMHC, so that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, right? So that was kind of like our key mission, which we are happy to say that we've got the Mayor of Toronto, the Mayor of Barrie, the Deputy Mayor of Brampton, Burlington, Newmarket. So essentially all the GTA mayors are going to be in a panel. We've got the deputy to the housing minister who's going to be there as well. We're also talking to the provincial government to have a presence there as well. So essentially all forms of government are there. And then we've got a senior leadership, Matthew LePage, who is essentially the chief economist, and probably I would say like one of the key influential figures in CMHC, also present as well. So now we've established that. So we're very proud of that. And the second thing was, one of the biggest issues that the developers are facing right now is capital, right? As you see that there's a lot of good developers out there as well, right? I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are, like not so good, right? And phonies, but in our experience, we've met a lot of great people, a lot of great entrepreneurs that want to do the right thing and all that stuff. It's basically connecting them with capital. So a third of the attendees are essentially family offices, and established lenders and people that are just like motivated to kind of make a difference and essentially use their dollars to make a tangible, real difference, right? And so you're part of that as well. So a third of the tickets are allocated for those types, and we are so we're proud and happy that we've got so many venture capital firms, so many of these family offices that have committed to attending. And we're excited about the conversations that are going to happen between developers and these family offices, really bridge that gap. So, yeah, it's been amazing.
It's honestly, you guys shared some information with me a couple of weeks ago, and literally, I think 2 nights ago, I was looking at the list and I was blown away. Like you guys, like this is the first conference that I'm excited to go learn something at. A lot of the conferences that we go to in real estate, it's sales pitches for coaching programs, and that's okay. We've all invested in coaching. Coaching's great, but what I saw here is just an incredible group of people really trying to solve a problem, and I thought that was. I think it's very well timed. I think you guys are going to provide a ton of value, and I'd encourage everyone to grab a ticket and go check it out.
Yeah, September 12th, like you said, at the Fairmont Royal York. It's happening right in the middle of TIFF, actually, so you might actually see a few celebrities and all that stuff there too. Cool. So it's added incentive for you guys to show up. But you know what? We're so lucky and so fortunate, I would be remiss if I didn't actually, mention our sponsors. Like we've got some very, established brands that, that are sponsoring as well. We've got LG, American Express, Mitsubishi Mitser. We've got Geofocus Group and a few others, and they've been pivotal in essentially getting this conference off the ground, right? Because as you know, the typical model is you take money from the attendees, right? But what we're doing is we're flipping the script and saying, no, businesses, you sponsor this, and we've made it as economical as we could for the attendees, so that because we want real conversations to happen. So really a big thank you to all our sponsors. But we've got a big budget. This is a $250,000 conference for 250 people, right? So and so it's going to be a great experience. And our team has been incredible in putting this whole thing together. And I think that there's a couple of things that we want to focus on in the conference. Obviously, having the right conversations, having the right people, but we want to get the right emotions in the room as well, because you've got the mayors, you've got the LPs who are of the family offices that are going to be investing. You've got really motivated developers that are going to be in the same room, and us all talking about housing and how we can solve for housing, and bring in all the emotion with the nice lighting and AV and all that stuff. I think it's going to be very powerful.
Love it. Really looking forward to it. Like I said, I try to always do value first here, but when I really believe in something, the timing worked out really well here. I think the podcast is coming out. You guys are going to be seeing this about 2 weeks before, so right when you see it, book, and Peter will make sure you hit your link on there. So, all right, we're kind of coming to the end here. We always like to ask, and I'll kind of give you guys both an opportunity. What's the hard truth? What's the hard truth for a new real estate investor? You can answer it in two ways. You can answer, what's the hard truth for a newbie who's never bought in any real estate? And you can answer as well for like hard truth for somebody who's maybe bought their first 5 deals and are struggling. Like kind of take it wherever you want to go. You guys can both take a chance to answer.
I could do the newbie part. As a new real estate investor, you're going to have to take a risk, right? You're going to need to commit. You're going to need to decide, commit, and take that risk. And that risk can be financial, or it can be the amount of time you want to invest into it. So that risk involves, you may not win. Hopefully you'll win if you come up with the right plan, but to increase your chances of winning in real estate, you need to surround yourself with the right people, the right team, your broker, your agent, your construction manager, if you're heading into development, your property manager. So you need to find out what that team looks like for you. You need to understand what you can deliver, and you need to be aware of the risks that are going to happen. But here's another thing. The risk is if you don't try, you'll never get a chance to win. So you got to take that chance.
Take the risk.
Yeah.
I think I got a sign here that says something like that.
Yeah.
Take the risk. I love it. Kartik, what do you got?
I would echo what Jimmy said. I think having the right team is very, very important. I would also say be prepared for sleepless nights. I mean, look, I'm single, and I was single when we were doing this stuff. I mean, he's got a family, and I'm kudos to you, man, because the amount of stress that we take on as developers every single day. I mean, things are much better now, but as you know, right? Like, things are so uncertain with the city and like the permits and the development process. Things are getting better now, but a couple of years ago, it was still very challenging. It's going to be sleepless nights. There's things that, you thought you were going to be at a certain point at, by a certain date, and you're not going to get there, right? And you have to be okay with that. You have to build systems that, not everything hinges of you getting that done at that point. But there's lots of, sleepless nights. You have to have a risk tolerance and a risk appetite. And, Jimmy and I, like, obviously we're great partners, but there were a couple times we had to have hard conversations with each other, right? That really tested who we are as individuals. And, we stuck with each other and we stuck by each other, and we kept moving forward. And I think that actually strengthened our relationship even more, right? Going through those difficult times together, right? Like, so, it sounds glamorous, it sounds maybe sexy, but what it comes with is, probably 7, 8, 9 months of hardly sleeping and a cost of, relationships, that you may have to sacrifice.
And this is why I started this. I always said I would never, start a consulting or community, and I've started the podcast, and I said I wouldn't do these things, but as I mentioned earlier, the rules are changing, and we need people to talk about this. It's not sunshine and rainbows. There is risk. If somebody tells you there's not risk, there's wrong. There is risk. You have to take a risk. There is stress. This is stressful. It's not easy to go outside of the norm and quit a job and borrow money and go to the city and build things. Like, this is not easy. It's stressful. But the message is, and I'm sure you guys would agree, for those of you who have the fortitude to do it, it's worth it. Like, it's worth it, but there's steps to go there. So
absolutely.
Guys, thanks for the drive down here today. I know this isn't close to home. We're looking at Lake Huron, so we got a nice view for anyone who's wondering. So thanks for coming down here today. Really appreciate it. Check out the Missing Middle Conference, and really appreciate having you on here. Looking forward to do a ton more business with you guys.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.